when I ask the question, have you ever said that I'm trying to let my man be a man? Or have you given that advice to a friend girl? Well, maybe you should let him be a man. See, if that is your thinking, then I want to say to you that underneath your desire for a healthy relationship, there is a toxic, venomous ideology that it is your place to let a man be a man. My question to you is, when you decide that you're not going to let him be a man, what is he supposed to be then? Um, I don't have a hidden agenda when I talk about relationships. I am responsible for daughters and sons. I like to have a balanced conversation. And so I would like for you to listen with an open mind, if you will. I don't have an axe to grind, but what is the underlying problem with relationships these days? Is there a virus, if you will, running in the background, in the subconscious region of your mind that somehow causes you to look at men negatively, more specifically, your man or your husband? Now, I know that there are in this world some no good men and some no good women. I'm not talking to them or about them. There are people who are just not going to be honest. They're not going to make commitments. They just want to run and play. And so you let them have that. But I'm talking to you, those of you who at your core, you're a good person. You're a good woman. You're a good man. And you sincerely desire to be in a healthy, balanced, nurturing, prosperous, fulfilling relationship of marriage. Now, I have to go back a little bit and refer to some points that I made in a previous conversation about where this whole thing started. We need a starting place. So let me establish a starting point and let's go from there. Now, I was born in 1966. And in 1967, there was a newsletter called The Voice of the Women's Liberation Movement. It was published. It's from Chicago. In 1968, the Women's Liberation Movement was launched, and in 1969, then Governor of California, Ronald Reagan, who later became president, he issued or signed the first no-fault divorce bill. Now, this ushered the divorce revolution of the 1970s. Prior to that, divorce was a very taboo subject, but somehow it made it to the mainstream and is now very popular to the point to where I think we've pushed the envelope so far that we're going from father knows best to father knows nothing. See Homer Simpson and Al Bundy. What I'm suggesting to you is that it's one thing to be pro-woman, but one step beyond that is anti-man. And my question to you is, underneath your desire to be in a healthy relationship, do you have a negative perception of your man specifically and most men in general? The reason why I say this is because anytime there's a movement there's always a platform that the movement has to stand on in order to gain momentum. And that platform is the platform of no sellout. Whether we're talking about the free speech movement or the human rights movement, the student movement, the pro-choice or right to life movement, the civil rights or the hippie movement, whether we're talking about the animal rights or the LGBT movement or hashtag Black Lives Matter movement, we could be talking about women's lib or the feminist movement in this case, and the effect, the negative effect that it has on your ideology or your philosophy or your perception and or paradigm of the position of husband in your life. Now let me say that again. Your belief system, has it been affected by the feminist movement to the point of where when you see the word husband or hear the word husband, that automatically there is something less than impressive, less than positive running in the subconscious region of your mind? Because if you are standing on the premise or the movement of women's liberation, and on that platform, the feminist movement, if that's your agenda, then you are more willing to sell out your husband and your family for the sake of the cause. And so your attitude towards men in general, particularly your husband, the man that's in your life, is less than positive. Now, I want to make sure that we don't get too off track here when I say things like negative towards men, and I'm not saying that you have this disdain or this hate for men. It could be something as simple as the women's movement was very important and necessary to level the playing field, equal employment and opportunity and pay. And we're still dealing with some of those issues. But the main thing that I want you to understand is that it was the voice of the women's liberation movement. In other words, women wanted a voice, and your voice needed to be heard. The problem is if you think that your voice is the only one that needs to be heard. Equality does not mean that you have the final say or that you have the only say. Equality means that his voice is equal to yours. Now, I don't want you to think that I am suggesting that you do anything differently or feel anything differently. I just want you to check. If you're having a hard time sustaining a healthy, peaceful marriage or relationship that is fulfilling to you, then as a woman, I want you to check to see what's running underneath in the background of your mind. If you find yourself saying things like, I am trying to let him be a man. See, it is not your place to let him be a man, because again, when you don't want him to be a man, when you're ready to not let him be a man, what is he supposed to be at that time? Your permission basically is suggesting that you are the more powerful one in the relationship. You are the smart one. You're the most qualified to handle everything that's important, until you decide, well, this time I'm going to let him be a man. So look deep inside and see if that's not running in the background, because I'm guaranteeing you, if it is, therein lies your biggest problem. You've gone from pro-woman. Yes, we want you to be strong. Yes, we want you to be smart. All those things. But it's one thing to be pro-woman and another thing to be anti-male, more specifically husband. And the position of husband is what I want to emphasize now. The position of husband. You have taken the word husband and you've diminished it to where it is not a position that requires your respect. Notice I didn't say submission because that's now profanity in the society. It's an outlawed word. So let's replace submission with respect. But just like if you were at work and the title or the position of supervisor told you that this is what we're going to do going forward, then you respect that position and so you adjust. If the classroom instructor says, in order to be successful in this course, you will have to do these things. If your religious or spiritual leader, your pastor, told you that in order to be in good standings with God, you have to do these things and avoid doing these other things because you respect the position of the supervisor or the classroom instructor or the spiritual leader, you adjust and you act accordingly. But when your husband makes a suggestion to you, then it's, oh, he does not know what he's talking about. So you're the smart one in the relationship, and he is intellectually inadequate. So why should you listen to him? You're the strong one. His constitution is weak, so why should you listen to him? So we're not using the word submit. We are using the word respect. Do you have a healthy respect for the position of husband? Just look deep inside and make sure that that area is in check. And my final point, I want to make sure I get it all in on this particular cut because I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk to you guys about relationships for a minute. Getting pretty busy this time of year. But I want you to take this away with you. If you're a strong woman, if you're a smart woman, you should not aspire to partner with a weak man or a man who is not intellectually capable to help you make decisions. And a strong man does not aspire to partner with a weak woman. A smart man does not aspire to partner with a dumb woman. Why? Because you are supposed to be able to see what he can't see, and he is supposed to be able to see what you can't see. This is the balance. So it is not up to you to let him be a man. Going forward, just focus on being a good woman. Check it out. Look deep inside and make sure that you have not been negatively impacted by the feminist movement or the ideology and philosophy that may have taken you from being pro-woman, which is a good thing, to anti-man, which is not a good thing. And remember, do your best to be at your best always, to put yourself in the best positions to create the best opportunities for the best outcomes. My name is Jay Jackson.